Welcome to another episode of Scrapbooking Tips and Tricks with Mari. Today we're going to be taking a look at some simple mixed media with your favorite scrapbooking collection. So I recently purchased the Coco Vanilla Daydream collection, and it is stunning. It is absolutely my style. It is soft. I love the florals. I love all of the prints. I love kind of like the boho nature of this collection. And I wanted to do some really subtle mixed media with this beautiful collection, which turns out to be one of my new favorites. And I wanted to scrapbook this photograph of my great niece, and I definitely wanted to use this pattern paper that you see on my desk. You can see that I've printed the photo in black and white at 4x3. And this paper here is definitely the inspiration for my starting point today. So oftentimes this is what I'll do to get my mixed media going is I will choose something from the beautiful collection I want to work with and go from there as far as the colors that I want to use. Now, I wanted to keep it really simple today because I want to show you how you can keep your mixed media really simple and it can just be beautiful. So I'm working with a piece of Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. You can use any heavy white cardstock for this. And I treated it with a little bit of transparent gesso. And this is the Prima gesso. You can get this at Michael's or lots of different places. I'm sure your local craft store sells it. And I applied it with my Prima silicone brush, but you could also apply it with a gift card or a palette knife or anything that you have that's flat and smooth that you could put that on with. And here it's all dry and it's ready to go, ready for my mixed media and my first step with my mixed media process. So I really love the speckled egg new color from the Distress line, and I love that it really matches this collection beautifully. So I just took it and I swiped it down my paper. Now I knew that I wanted my photograph to the left because the little girl in the photo is looking off to the right, and I just felt like that was the proper justification for this photo. So I just swiped that ink on there on the left side mostly. Let it dry a little bit, let it soak into the gesso a little bit so that I can still see those stripe marks that I created. I thought that just looked really distressed and interesting. I love the pattern that it left on my paper, and I just wanted to kind of leave that there. I didn't want to really overwork the ink and smudge it all out. So I added some water to it, I let it drip. Now that part of it's basically mostly dry, and I'm just going to add a few splatters by picking up some of that ink off of my desk. Now I am working on I do have a little bit of a media mat on top of my table, and I will link up that media mat down below so you can check that out. It's from Nuvo and it works really, really well. And I've just picked up some of that ink in a watered down brush. I've splattered it on and I've dripped it on by just squeezing my brush. And now I'm going to kind of let that dry a little bit. I'm going to use my heat tool for a little bit of assistance, and also going to use a little bit of paper towel to soak that up now that it's dried a little bit. I don't want to soak it up immediately because then you pick up all the pigment, right? So I like to let it dry a little bit so the pigment sinks in. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of the pigment and the water from those droplets so that they dry a little bit more quickly. I don't want them to be too dark either. This all depends on personal preference. I like my mixed media to be pretty soft. So if you like it to be more saturated and darker, then you're going to use darker colors. You're going to leave your ink or whatever medium you're using on your paper longer. You're going to let it dry longer, and then it's going to be darker. So this is just me, the process that I like it to be soft. Now this product that I'm using is pretty new to my stash and I love it. It is the Dina Wakley Gloss Spray. And when you splatter that onto your project, it stays bright white and it dries dimensional. And I absolutely am so in love with this stuff. I have it also in navy and in turquoise. Now this is the stencil that I'm going to be using from Picket Fence Studio today. I will also link that up down below. Now, I don't know how I managed this, but I did not get my camera on for the stenciling, but I just did a really little bit of light stenciling with these colors of Distress Oxide ink that I'm showing you here on camera. And I just used my blending brushes and in a few different areas here, and I'm going to show you up close. I went ahead and I did that really light blending with those three colors. And those basically are the three colors that I really wanted to focus on besides a speckled egg that are in this collection. So the collection has these really pretty soft blues and pinks and greens and yellows. And that's exactly what I wanted for my mixed media here, as well as that speckled egg, these other three colors of Distress Oxide ink. Now I just grabbed this wood grain paper from my stash. It's actually a scrap that I had that's been laying around for a while. It's from an older collection, I think maybe from Cartabella or Echo Park. And I wanted to use that as a layer behind my photo. So you just saw me trim that up. This is an ephemera pack from Crepe Paper. It's a Maggie Holmes collection, I think from last summer. And I love all of these really vintage looking pieces of ephemera for my layering and my scrapbook layouts. They just really match my style. I feel like they're just kind of like, they just have a really interesting look to them. There's often really different patterns, and I love the tickets and anything that's got a little bit of text. I love all of that stuff. And you can see that I've pulled up that yellow that has the dot. I also really like the top of this one here that I think says, and I'm just looking on the layout, Control Library or something like that. And they're really vintage looking, and that's what I love about them. So I pulled a few out that I thought I might like to use to layer in behind my photo mat. And then you'll just see me using those as I go ahead and create my layers behind my photograph here. Now I also pulled a glassine bag out of my stash. I love layering behind my photos with the glassine bag because then you can just slide stuff into that bag. At the top of the bag, add some texture, and then you can also just, in a really interesting way, add some layers to that mat. So you can see I'm going to put a couple of these little elements into that glassine bag. And I think this is so cool. I think it looks really interesting and layered and just subtle detail, right? That I'm going to add to my project. Now I'm taking some craft foam. This is craft foam that has a sticky on it. I'm just taking the release paper off the back, and I will take a tape runner and I will stick that down to the paper. I like to use tape runner and not glue when I'm attaching my photo to the paper, because glue will make your photo buckle a little bit, and I like to not do that. So that's what I did there. Now you're also going to see I'm taking my distressing tool. I'm going to distress the edges of my paper and just get that looking a little bit worn and distressed, not too much, just a little bit to add a little bit of extra texture. And I like how that looks. Now there is that beautiful paper, and I am going to use a tiny little bit of it around my photograph, not a ton, but just enough so that you can see it. And you can just see me here. I'm going to cut that roughly, and then I'm going to take my distressing tool. No, I don't think I actually used my distressing tool on that layer. I wanted that layer to be the same thickness that I cut it at, so I didn't distress that layer. Now I'm going to take a little bit more foam adhesive, and I'm going to put that on the back of the patterned paper that's backing my photo layer here, just for a little bit more dimension so that I can go ahead and layer things in between the foam layers of paper and my photo. Now I did take out my notebook punch. This is a punch I've had in my stash probably for 15 or 20 years. It is really cool because it creates that really neat texture. And I'm also going to ruffle those up and like bend them and fold them a little bit too. And that's that postcard ephemera piece from that Crepe Paper Maggie Holmes collection. And I am going to go ahead and use my little tiny stapler to help me layer these and keep these pieces together as well. Now I do want to make sure that I am keeping this photo in the area that I had planned to put it. I thought about using this pink paper, but I'm actually going to use a chunk of this paper here. And I just wanted to use a little corner of it. I really like this one area of it that kind of has the speckles and a bunch of the different colors, including the pink and the blue. I'm just going to have that poking out at the edge of my photo just to add a little bit more of the color from the collection into that layer. Now you can see I'm starting to cover up a little bit of that stenciling, and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that stencil, and here you can just see how I use that stencil. Really simple. That's all there is to it. I just want a little impression of that texture of that stencil on here, really subtle, nothing too dark, just really soft and pretty. And that is the look I'm going for here. So now you'll also see me stapling all of those layers together that are behind my photo, just to keep them all into one piece. Or if I don't show you that, that's what I did with them. I'm taking a little bit of tissue paper. This is some of my art journaling stuff. I often will bring my art journaling tools and bits into my scrapbooking process, and I just love how that little bit of tissue paper that has a text on it adds just a little bit of interest to that corner of my photo mat layers. I'm also going to fold up and distress that little tag bit that's in my glassine bag, just to make that also look more textury. And textury, I don't think is a word, but you know how it goes. You got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to staple this together and then go ahead and work on getting all of these things stuck down. Now, I did use liquid adhesive to stick the glassine bag and that bit down to the paper because the paper has gesso on it. I did go ahead and stick that down with some liquid adhesive. And here's just this little die cut piece from the Daydream collection. I'm going to cut that in half, ruffle it up and stick it into just the edge on the right. And now I'm going to work on my title. And these pieces came from my stash. The small pink alphas, the small pink puffy alphas are from Felicity Jane. They're beautiful. If you have not yet discovered Felicity Jane, I highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite companies out there. Love everything that they make. And I wanted to use these because they are the perfect size and color for this collection. And I also wanted to use that the foam letters phrase that spells out dream, and that's from my stash. It's from an older collection. You might remember seeing it. I don't remember. Maybe it's from a Chamel collection. And I just like that title, Sweet Dream, and I like how it's really soft, and I love the white letters on this white background. I think that's really soft and pretty. Loved it, and I just thought that it really goes along nicely with the look I'm going for here. There's also some stars on that phrase sticker sheet that had the word dream on it that I'm also going to incorporate into the layout as well. And now I'm just going to use some of the die cuts from the Coco Vanilla collection to help me go ahead and embellish. Now that larger floral piece that I'm putting down below the photo is actually a fussy cut piece from the floral paper from the collection. And I'm going to go ahead and just embellish also on the other side of the title with some floral pieces, and I'll put those floral pieces up to the top left as well as the bottom right, and then that area over to the far right by the title. And I'm just going to layer using foam adhesive, and just really, this is simple basic layering. I'm not doing a ton of embellishing here. I actually don't end up using that fabric heart. I just didn't think that it really worked on this particular layout, just because I didn't have any other anything else that had sort of like that texture. I just didn't really feel like it fit, and so I am going to take that fabric heart off of there, and I will just go with the florals and of course popping some of them up on some foam. I'm going to keep trying to get that fabric heart on there, but I don't end up using it. But you can see there's lots of room for journaling above the title. And this layout is not for me, it is for my niece. So I'm going to let her do the journaling on it. But I'm just showing you all the details. I added some of those stars. I added 3 stars. I'm just showing you there to each of those different little areas. And that is basically going to finish up my layout. Now I did decide to go in and add a couple of stickers. You can see that I added that sticker Sweetheart from the sticker sheet from the collection. And I'm also going to take that little tab sticker that says So Sweet. It's blue, of course, that beautiful blue color from the collection. I'm going to add that above my photo to create another little layer on the top of my photo mat, and I really like how that finishes that off. Now this collection also has a little sequin pack, and it is is beautiful. It is so gorgeous. I'm a card maker too, so sequins are totally up my alley, not just for scrapbooking, but also for card making. And this is just a really great shaker mix. If you want to make some cards with this collection, you could totally do that too. But I wanted to add a sequin to 3 different centers of my flowers. So you're just going to see me do that. I'm going to choose out 3 different ones. I think I chose 2 blue and a yellow, kind of an iridescent. Actually, these are all iridescent. They're so lovely. I love them. One thing that I really like to use for sticking down my sequins is Glossy Accents, or the one that I've been using lately and reaching for a lot in my different crafting processes is the Nuvo Crystal Glaze. I am going to show you that right away here. And I also really like to use my Studio Cadia sequin wand to put sequins down. You'll see me showing you that as well here right away. I'm going to get those sequins stuck down, and I'm pretty much going to be finished my process here. I hope you're enjoying this scrapbooking tips and tricks series with me here on YouTube, and I hope that you are picking up some little tips in each one of these process videos. My goal is to help you just pick up little nuggets of information in each one of these videos that might help you and inspire you with your scrapbooking and crafting processes. I have linked up the products that I have used down below. I purchased this Coco Vanilla collection from an online scrapbooking store in Ontario. I will try to link up to that. I remember to link up to that store in the description box, and then I'll also link up to other products that I used in general in my process today. There's that Nuvo Crystal Glaze. Love that glue. It is so awesome. And of course, it dries dimensional and clear. Thanks so much, guys, for stopping by today. I really appreciate your views, your thumbs up, for subscribing to my channel. Here's a few close-ups of my project today. Have an amazing day, stay safe, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.